Giraffe Centric, what a fantastic comment. You're saying it's amazing how we got to see Christmas Day, this beautiful sighting, and now New Year's Day, and how lovely luck works. It's true, Giraffe Centric. It's a little bit of skill and then a lot of luck mixed in. And we are very fortunate. Very fortunate indeed. I wouldn't say that I'm hardened to a lot of things in the bush, but I would definitely say that there's a lot of magical things that happen that I've seen a bit of, and I get excited about them. But this, with the cub popping out like it was doing and giving such a scene, actually makes me truly emotional. I mean, it's just so tiny, and it's amazing that they allow us to do this, because they could go into spots where we could never get a vehicle, and then we would not be able to have these experiences. So I'm very grateful. We're all very blessed. Two minutes till New Year's on the East Coast in the States. I hope you all are topping up your apple juice and getting ready for countdown. The sun's going to start creeping in on her shortly, and she'll probably, I would say in the next sort of 20 minutes, she'll probably move and find a more shady spot. It's shady now, but the sun that's coming up is getting very, very warm. Can we hear all the bird calls that are popping up? Diane, you're saying that Tundi's cub has big ears like Tumba. Diane, I will have to take your word for it. I still have not seen Tumba. Tumba's still on my list. I think he's the last one on my list that I need to see. That will be a nice New Year's. When I get back from leave, having a Tumba sighting will be high on my list. That and confirmation on the sex of Tundi's cub. Full confirmation. Even more birdsong coming through. So we have southern boo-boo that's been calling. We have redback shrikes that have been calling. We have Cape turtle doves that have been calling. We have Cameropteras that have been calling. We have tawny flanked prinia that have been calling. Blue waxbills. Woodland kingfisher, if I didn't say it. There's a lot happening right now. Peggy, you're curious. Earlier on, we had the cub that was sort of gnawing on the backside of Tundi's head there, doing a little bit of grooming, and you were asking if the cub was possibly picking off ticks and doing it for the blood. Look, I mean, it could have been picking off ticks. I have never seen a leopard actively trying to eat ticks before, so I don't think it was for the blood. I think more of what it was doing was that it was practicing a bit of allo grooming and giving a little bit of love to its mum. Sorry, I've just got a really huge bee that's flying around my head at the moment. Are you going to come to... No, it's gone now. It was coming inside my hat a little. So I think it was more of an absent-minded way of trying to show affection and do a bit of grooming. If any of you have smaller children, say around 4 years old, and they ever want to brush your hair, the way that a 4-year-old brushes your hair compared to the way that your teenage child brushes your hair is two very different things. They're both showing the same amount of affection and love. It's just the dexterity and deftness of it is two very different things, and that's what I equate that cub doing now, where it's trying very hard to do some loving grooming, but it's not necessarily fully able to use all of its functional parts as well as it will later on in life. Happy New Year, East Coast of the United States. Ringing in the new year with Tundi and her little one. How fantastic. Cheers, everybody. Enjoy that. Now you can see she's a little bit more awake. She's trying to either find a more comfortable spot, or you can see there's a bit of sunlight that's coming off onto her back there. So she's probably warming up. And I have a sneaky suspicion that our cub has completely tired itself out. So I think we got here at just the right time to get that amazing sighting. I'm not going to go anywhere yet. We are going to give it some more time. But I do think that all of that energy has been used up for now. Deanna, you're saying earlier you heard a red-crested coron. Deanna, it's entirely possible. It's not one of the sounds that I heard myself, but I've also been chatting a little bit, so it might have happened in the background. Manu, you're thinking you heard a chin spot baddis calling? Yes, there was definitely a chin spot baddis calling. I heard that one as well. The three blind mice. Here's some Franklins in the background now. Or, sorry, they're now called spurfowl, those particular Natal spurfowl. Haven't heard any guinea fowl yet this morning. There's a crested barbet. And a brown crowned chagra. Ferg, can you see at our 12 o'clock that little tawny flanked prinia is going completely nuts? I'm going to try and, I think it's tawny flanked prinia. I'm going to, why? It is definitely tawny flanked prinia, but it flew out of screen. Sorry, you could see really nicely the front of the chin going as it was making its little chip, 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 chip. There goes that southern boo-boo. I don't know if you heard that sound in the back. Now, we haven't heard the black-headed oriole that we've been asking for, and Ferg and I were trying to get the African hoopoe on screen the other day, but it kept getting chased away by doves, so I am still aware of those requests from several days ago. We just haven't been able to fulfill them yet, sorry. And the southern ground hornbill as well. Ooh, and an orange-breasted bushshrike. Coffee, tea, or me? Ferg, it might be a little bit too far, but there's a male violet-backed starling in that very large dead tree, dead leadwood, on the left-hand side. Yeah. There we go. Beautiful violet-backed starling. And then on top of the smaller tree is the female, but it's now flown to the big tree as well. The females are very boring and brown and striped. The male's so much more pretty. So much prettier. Michael, you're curious to know how much longer until Tundi starts taking the cubs to kills. Michael, she's already done it once or twice. that I know of. And then she's been bringing meat close to the den for the cub to eat. But I think for her to be sort of meandering about and actually working her full territory into her home range, it's going to be about another month to 2 months. So we're going to start seeing baby steps, baby steps, baby steps, and then another month to 2 months. And she'll start doing that. Everybody, I'm pretty convinced that little cub has definitely gone in for a nap. And Tundi has relaxed completely, and she's having a beautiful nap as well. I want to give it another little while, just in case we can get another study in the cub. But I'm thinking that everybody has had their morning excitement and activity, and now this is what's going to be carrying on for most of the heat of the day. We can hope that maybe whoever's on drive this afternoon, Tristan for instance, will come and have a look, and that maybe we get another view as well. I'm not going to leave her immediately, but I do think we are eventually going to have to move on, just so that they can enjoy their day without too much background noise from us. It sounds as if Taylor's gremlins have moved off. So I think let's head all the way back up to the Masai Mara. We will reposition a little bit and see if just maybe we can get one more glimpse of that cute little cub before we leave them be.
My gremlins most certainly have not disappeared. I'm still very much struggling with communication, but we're going to give it a bash anyways. We moved into, like I said, we're just going to be driving on the crests now and hoping to keep good signal, and we'll see how it goes. But we've got a lovely herd of elephants that are just taking a morning stroll out in the open, feeding on, not grass. It looks like they're trying to pick up those little green shrubs that are just starting to pop through after maybe some rain that they had a few weeks ago. But there isn't much for the elephants here. You can see them, they're all using their feet, and it's pretty impressive that they can multitask. They can keep moving and keep feeding. That's amazing. Now, I think this question was about the gestation period of an elephant from Bethany. And, well, there we go. I've kind of just given the question, haven't I? It's a very, very long gestation period. It's 22 months. The only animal that's longer than it is the blue whale, which is 24 months. So that's pretty spectacular that these females have to carry around a calf for such a long time. But they really are sweet. There's not a big group. This is just a small group. Actually looks like majority of them are girls. I can see one. I'm just counting. At the moment I can only see one male. I can't see what that little one is just yet. Maybe a little boy too. But there are not too many in here. Nice to see all the girls together. Now, something that you must always remember is when you do come out on a safari, how important it is to use your senses. So, if you are driving around and if you aren't seeing any animals, ask your guide to just stop and have a little listen on. When you're in a sighting, it is so important that they switch the cars off, because there honestly is so much more than just looking at these animals. You might miss them communicating with one another if the engine's rumbling. You miss all the birds. You'll miss alarm calls, anything like that. That's definitely something that I've found particularly important while guiding. And unfortunately, you're going to be hearing a whole lot of cars driving past, as it is very, very busy. But I have heard that everybody's going to be leaving in the next few days. So the Triangle and the Masai Mara Reserve will be very, very quiet. I reckon after about the 3rd or 4th of January, which will be great, and to have the whole reserves all to ourselves. And they're just splitting up slightly. Now they'll probably just feed around in this area. Right, let's carry on. Let's see, I'm just going to get past this wave of cars and see if we can get another view of them again. So we'll just try to zip past everybody, because they are so lovely, aren't they? Just go around and around. I wonder how Ralph is getting on, trying to get to those cheetah. it's either Judy or Josh that asked a question. And you were wondering, oh, not you're wondering, you're commenting on the lack of vegetation that's around at the moment. It's just this spot. I think these elephants will move into an area where grazing and browsing will be a lot better. But they're making use of what's here, and like I said, there are these little green shrubs that have just popped out every now and then, and that's what they're going for. You can see they take a step and then they'll use their trunks to latch onto it, and then as they've taken a step they'll kick with their foot, almost like a spade, chopping at the roots, or at least trying to uproot that plant, because it'll be good to get some of those roots. They'll have a lot of moisture in it, and elephants need to drink such large quantities of water every single day, so it does help when there is a bit of moisture in their vegetation, and they don't have to go and gulp it all down. Not that they mind so much. Elephants really, of course, enjoy the water and will spend as much time down in luggers and wallowing and spraying themselves with mud, or even swimming in the Mara River or the Talek River, wherever there's a pool deep enough, or even sometimes when it's not too deep, they'll still give it a bash. Now, that young elephant hadn't quite perfected the technique just yet, but it's getting there. It's kind of got to stop and pull it out, whereas, like I said, those adults have got that very smooth motion of being able to pull all those shrubs out as they're on the go. That's great, and that's efficient, and it just goes to show you, though, how efficient animals are, whether it's ruminating, whether it's eating on the go. They do it very, very well. They'll rest and do all sorts of things at the same time. Sorry, I was just trying to listen there. I think I have to send you down to South Africa now. I would assume it would be Noel, as Scotty has got the morning off. Let's go and see if Noel has got a better position of Thandi.
Alright everyone, the cub came out for just a little bit, and then was clambering on top of Thandi and pissed her off. So Thandi is now rearranging herself a little bit. We're just sitting, we're at a different angle, and we're just sitting a little bit farther back. This poor mother is being harassed by her cub to such an extent that you can see that she needs a holiday, she needs a break. Where she's sticking her head down now is part of the cavity where the cub likes to be. So I'm happy with where we are. She is happy where we are. So I have a feeling that we might get 1 or 2 more glimpses of the cub. So I would like to try and see if we can manage that, because I think within the next sort of 5 minutes or so, she's going to meander off to a different position to be in. The sun's really hitting her top of the log there. Yes, she's a beautiful, beautiful lady. Now, her belly is very full, so she might go off and do some hunting, but I really think that she's going to spend most of today resting up in the shade not far from this den. It's a possibility her teats are looking a little bit full. It's a possibility that she might nurse before she goes down to rest, but we'll just have to wait and see. Her space bubble today is definitely affected when, oh, that's what I wanted to tell you. When we were moving around to the other side here, we saw those, oh, beautiful dragonfly, thanks Ferg. We saw those tracks of those hyenas that were 5 meters from the den site. So her space bubble has changed a lot today because of that. We were right in our assumptions that they came past here. She's seen something. I'm just going to give it a minute. She's seen something that I can't see. Could be those hyenas again. Could be Nyala. Could be Impala. I'm trepidatious to move too much. I don't want to interrupt anything. So I'm going to give it a beat and see what happens. Do you see anything, Ferg? I can hear the squirrels going now. So she's moving off a little bit. Okay, guys, I think let's reverse. I'm not hearing or seeing anything. Let's reverse and see if we can see her again, wherever she might have gone, or possibly see what made her move off. I think we're gonna have to leave more sightings of our cub to Tristan for this afternoon, but I think we did very well. Ooh, hold on guys, sorry. This is a tricky little corner there. Alright, I can hear, obviously she moved off this way. I can hear those squirrels going a little bit. I really don't know what she's seen. And everyone, I just need you guys to remember that everything happens for a reason, and nature is nature. The hyenas already came past here. Yes, they might come past again, but don't stress. It's also possible that she just saw an impala, or it's possible that she decided that she just feels like moving. Although her body language to me said, I see something. Yes, it's really warm now. Okay, so we're just coming around to the other side. And I can hear the bird's alarm calling through here. So I'm just going to follow the alarm calls as I cannot see her at the moment, so sorry for the back of my head. I can hear the squirrels going. There's also a possibility that maybe something like a warthog moved through. Mauricia, you're saying, please no lions, hyenas, or wild dogs showing up at the den site. Mauricia, I hear you. The hyenas were already passed today and the cub's still alive, so I think we're good. I have a feeling... Look, there was a lot of warthog activity in this area on and off over the past few days. There's definitely some little burrows for warthogs to be in, and there's nice little baby warthogs. So if it was something like that, I mean, she's full, but a baby warthog is a very good, tasty little morsel. I think she's gone up into here. From what I could hear with the birds. All right, everybody, I'm not going to sniff around too much in this area. She's moved off. She's doing what she needs to do. I think we had an amazing sighting, and I think we are all very lucky for our 2018. I think let's leave more Tundi activity for Tristan for this afternoon. And guys, I can't see any hyena or anything like that. I do think something caught her attention, and I'm feeling more like the way she moved that it has more to do with possibly a warthog or something like that, as opposed to anything else. So no one worry, the cub is safe and sound. Remember, the wild dogs and the lions and the hyena are too big to actually get inside where that cub is, so don't stress. It's gone in, it's probably gonna sleep, and Tundi's a good mum, so it'll all be good. But how fantastic was that cub? Oh, absolutely the cutest thing in the world at the moment. Even cuter than wild dog pups, which you know I think are the cutest things. Fantastic. Okay. Oh, there she is. Where did you go? Did you just make a big loop around us? She did. She made a big loop around us. Interesting. So something obviously caught her attention, and then she moved off, and then here she is. All right, well, we'll stay with her for a little bit longer. Not a problem there. Earlier when we didn't see her and there's a lot of thick bushes there, close to a den like this, I don't want to drive over thick bushes or make huge amounts of loud noise. We prefer to sort of have our one little area where we can sort of loop around. Now, because her teats are heavier in the back and because she's heading back towards where that cub is, I am going to stay with her now. I am going to carry on because this is her moving back. She's happy, she's content, and I'm hoping that we might get another visual, maybe nursing. So I'm going to let her move the direction she wants to move, and then we will follow her in. San Diego, interesting question. You're curious to know if her and the cub were in danger, would she get up and run? Look, every scenario is different. Would she pick it up and run? So San Diego, when she's moving with that cub in her mouth, it is difficult for her to move properly. So I don't necessarily think that would be her first instinct. I think the first thing that would happen is that, let's say they were at the den site, if something were to come along, that cub's going to go into that log where it's very difficult for other things to get into. I mean, Tundi can't even fit inside that log. And then Tundi would either actively defend or move away, having the predator go with her, possibly. Trying to have that cub in her mouth, she can't actually get up to a top speed, and then what if she needs to turn around and sort of bite or claw at whatever is trying to attack her, then she can't do that with the cub there. Alright, let's come forward again. Bill, good question you're asking if she carries the cub back here, back of the neck when she's changing dens. I think if it's longer distances, definitely, Bill, she'll pick it up. But, I mean, when one of the Juma vehicles saw her moving, when we thought she was moving dens recently, farther up north, the cub was just walking beside her. When the cub's much, much, much smaller, she definitely puts it in her mouth when she's changing dens. All right. So here we go. She's coming straight back towards the den. And I think what we are going to do is we're going to stay in our original spot. Ferg, just tell me when you want me to stop. Okay. We're going to stay in our original spot. I'm not going to go around to the other side. Mauricia, you're saying maybe she wanted to lure us away and then you put an LOL at the end of that. Yeah, it could be. I definitely think she saw something, and she did a funny little loop just now. Let's see what she does now. This is one of the things that I love about her allowing us to be around the site like this, is we get to watch behavior that we can know about from research and we can know about from various different components, but to actually be able to chat about it and show it to you is very different. And then also as a guide, and also for Ferg as a wildlife, what are you, a filmographer, a photographer? What is your title?
I don't know if I have a title.
Ferg doesn't have a title. We're gonna come up with a title for Ferg. Everyone, you have to come up with a title for Ferg. It allows us to put memories and pictures into our encyclopedic brains to be able to recognize it for another time, that this is what's happened. Listen, listen. She's calling the cub. There's so much. Oh, there's the cub on top of the log. It's right on top. There we go. Fantastic. I knew we'd get another sighting. There we are. Hello, little one. Now, Tundi's going up onto the side of a bank that's just to the north of this log. If she brings the cub with her, there is a little spot that we can get around to watch them from there. So we will definitely do that. I just want to see what happens. This is the spot. Ferg and I always look at this spot and we just want to be parked underneath because then you're at a low angle. Don't think she's going to allow us to park underneath, but she will allow us to park where we parked at Christmas and show across. There's a photo that I shared with all of you after we wrapped on Christmas of Tundi lying down on the bank just there and the cub running up to her, and that's I'll give you that angle just now. The cub's watching her, twitching its tail. Its tiny little tail. See that? See that little white that we always talk about? Inherent instinct, that interest. So interested in Mum and what Mum's doing. Before I move the vehicle, I do want the cub to first decide what it wants to do. And it might just completely ignore Tundi and play around on that log. Look how well the cub blends into that log, into the features, the textures, and also the colorations. Notice how much darker the cub is compared to Tundi, which allows it, and it's also smaller, so it allows it to be in these shady little dappled areas, and it can be very hard to pick them out. That's nice, coming into the sun a little bit, smelling where Mum was. Always curious, constantly curious about their environment. It's how they learn. Very similar to human children, always curious about their environment. Safi, you're saying this is the best. This is definitely the best, everybody. I'm really enjoying this. I'm glad that we're getting this additional segment for everybody. Diana, you're saying that this little cub is a good climber. This little cub indeed is a good climber. Again, inherent ability. Something that they're born with and then practice throughout their lifetime to get better at and build those muscles. A lot of what this cub is doing, the way that it's perching and where it's climbing, it's already starting to build those muscles nicely. Now I can't tell if the cub has gone back into the hole as the hole's on the other side of the tree there, or if it's decided to start climbing up towards Tundi. I am going to give it another couple of seconds and then I'm just going to very slowly meander around just so we can see her a titch better. Everybody's pretty relaxed and good. I have a couple of older sisters and they have many, many children between the two of them. And some of these scenes that we're watching now is reminding me of them, especially when they had their second or third kids. And you're just really exhausted. And you're trying so hard to be the best mom you can possibly be. And you just have some moments where you're like, oh my goodness, everyone has to go away. And then you just have these really beautiful, relaxed moments like now. Alright, while I'm busy repositioning, I think let's head up to Taylor for her to give us an update about what's happening in the Masai Mara, and then we'll see if we can manage one more last glimpse of everything that's happening here. We'll let you know as soon as we get one.
How exciting that you keep getting amazing views of that cub. Sorry, I'm watching the road. This area has had so much rain. I didn't want to go on this track, and well, now we did. And I was trying to get through this little crossing, but it's a bit too muddy and slippery, and I don't want to get stuck like Ralph just did. Yes, we can have an official handing over ceremony of the marshmallow pin, which is the pin here that I've been holding on for far too long. So Ralph is going to get it. We'll give it to him this afternoon though. We'll prepare him. Maybe there needs to be some smearing of mud. I don't know. I feel like we need to zhuzh the tradition up for 2018. So I'll think of something creative, and then this afternoon Ralph is just going to have to play along. Right. So so what I was actually going to do, I'm just quickly checking here to see whose footprints those were. Hyenas. Do you remember that massive pride? The locals call them the balloon pride, and then everybody else calls them the, I don't even know how to say it, Olomisinioyi pride. It's the longest name ever. So I wanted to go to them, and we spent quite a bit of time with them a few weeks ago. It was quite nice, quite a big pride, lots of different cubs, and maybe we'll do that this afternoon then. The Mara is incredible in the sense that everything dries so quickly, so it looks like it's going to be a nice day. There's a couple of clouds, I think they might burn away, but just a bit of sun, a little bit of wind, and I think we'll be good to go to cross a little bit later. So now I'm just going to hug this drainage line with all the trees. Maybe we see a leopard. This is very, very good leopard area, of course, so we'll try our luck here. And then I'm also just trying to stay on the road because we've been slipping and sliding and kicking up so much mud. You forget that when you come to the Masai Mara, you get dirty, you can't stay clean, it's impossible. You slide a lot, and you can get stuck a few times too. I was going to go and rescue Ralph, and then Nikki said that there were lots and lots of other vehicles around there, and I'm sure he's got a tow rope, and someone will have a tow rope if he doesn't have one, and we'll be able to pull him out. But I actually really wanted to go and do it, just so that I can go, woo! It's not just me, Brent, it's not just me. I do get stuck a lot though. I've come to this conclusion. Well, in the last few months it's been ridiculous. But anyways, it's okay. Whee! Okay, hang on. Little sideways there. Fun. Now, Mr. P, you're wondering if animals are aware that they're pregnant. Well, that's a hard one for me to answer because I can't speak the language that all the animals speak, unfortunately. So I'd just be guessing. But I'm sure that they are aware. I'm pretty sure that they would feel the movements. I mean, if we look at impala, we often see impala lambs moving in mom's belly. I'm pretty sure they can feel that, and they have an understanding that they are pregnant. So you see, I would say 100% yes, but again, nobody, can anybody really know the answer to that? Can anybody go up to an animal and ask them if they realize that? No. It's the hardest part. That's why I wish I could talk to animals. I think that would be the greatest. Oh my goodness, we're maybe going to get stuck here. Come on. No! Everyone's oh no, sorry. Oh, that was disastrous. All the mud just sprayed up everywhere. Archie, did you survive? You didn't get blasted too badly? I'll have to give my camera a clean. It's not covered in mud. I don't think it's supposed to have mud on it. So yeah, so this side, oh goodness, what a disaster. Between the gremlins attacking me and, well, the road being so slippery and full of mud at the moment, I can't even keep my tires on the track. Woo! Come on, you can do it. There we go. So this is also an area that I've been trying to check. We're not far away from where the musketeers are, and this lugger that stretches, it's quite a long stretch, but it's where we've had lion den, we've had female cheetah, we've had all sorts of things. Janine, you're panicking now. You said, did I miss Ralph getting stuck? Don't worry, I also missed it. I heard delayed because I had a patch where I didn't have any signal. But I don't know if, did you go, Nikki, did you go live to Ralph while he was getting stuck? I'm not sure if they would have gone, and it would have been quite nice. Oh, they didn't. Okay, so Ralph didn't have to be live and face everybody, which is a pity. I feel like if we all get stuck, if it's during the show, you've got to come to us and then be like, and then just, you know, admit that you were stuck, because, you know, it's all he say, she say. We've got no proof now. We've actually got no evidence. Ralph could turn around and say everyone was talking nonsense and that it never happened. All these types of things. But it is funny when we as guides get stuck. It does. I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. So it's a bit of a quiet patch, but I think we will maybe carry on a little bit further. I just did that quick loop. Sadly, couldn't cross where I normally cross. And and we'll head this way. So we'll go on the other side of the lugger where we had those male lions at one time, and maybe we find them. Maybe they'll still be there. Right, let's go across to the new Marshmallow. We're going to call her the Marshmallow Queen, the new Marshmallow Queen of 2018. Well done, Ralph. I hope you managed to get yourself out.
Thanks very much, Taylor. Yeah, the Marshmallow King. Here we go. It seems Taylor's a little bit worried that she might get stuck. Well, I did get stuck, everybody, and I've got the mud all over me to prove it. Luckily, there were some very friendly people nearby that came and helped us. The reason we're in quite a hurry at the moment is we're trying to catch up with those 5 musketeers that Taylor was with a bit earlier, but she had some gremlins while she was in the area, so she decided to extract herself, and we've decided to go in and do a bit of a tag team, take over her place and see if we can get some better signal and not have any gremlins like she had. But it's been fun and games this morning with the mud. We've had a lot of fun trying to stay unstuck, but eventually we did get stuck, and well, if you don't get stuck, you're not trying hard enough. So we are still in a hurry because I think these cheetah might be on the move. So we're trying to scoot on over to them as fast as possible, and we've seen some vehicles moving around here, so I think we might be closing in. There's a lot of game here in front of us, a lot of zebra, and if these cheetah are around here, it'll be very interesting because they are near to the game as well. Let's just have a look as we drive here into this group of animals. Okay folks, so while I just try and ascertain as to exactly where these 5 musketeers are, I'm going to ask 1 or 2 people and just get a little bit of clues a bit closer to them. But in the meantime, let's send you on over to Taylor with one of those big fat ruminating animals.
We do have one of those big fat ruminating animals, but it is a big fat ruminating animal that's not ruminating but death staring us at the moment. Now, I believe there are some comments flying this morning about Karma and Taylor. Be careful. I have to tell all of you, Karma has got me so much this year, it's not even funny. I've fallen, not this year, last year, I've fallen face first in the mud, live. I have slipped so many other times that you have not seen. I have got stuck too many times, so I think I'm allowed to laugh at Ralph. I feel as though I've earned it. On the other hand, Brent is not allowed to laugh at anybody because when he gets stuck, it's going to be spectacular, and we're all going to drive, whether it takes us hours and hours. Every person is going to leave the camp, and we're all going to go to Brent, and we're going to surround, and we're going to laugh at him. That's what's going to happen. Ralph can join us, but yes, it's all part about the bush. And if you're a buffalo, though, you don't often get stuck in the mud, even though they like to sit in the mud. And that's a beautiful sighting of a yellow-billed oxpecker as well. It was a lovely bird. But this one is ruminating. It's got interesting shaped horns as well, pointing, very pointy, and pointing back towards its boss. Mind Warp, you're wondering, I missed, there was a key part that I missed, but I think it's which one do I prefer of the sightings, Ralph getting stuck or Tristan falling out of his car? Tristan falling out of his car was my absolute favorite. Ralph getting stuck, I didn't get to see it, so hopefully Manu has done some behind the scenes filming that we can go back and laugh at. But yeah, Tristan hitting the tree stump was absolutely spectacular. He tumbled out pretty quickly. That's why he's called Tumbelina now. He did the it's like he was a gymnast in his previous life, because he landed very, very well. So well done to him. And it's quite funny. Jamie's also had taken a tumble live before when she was trying to pull the branch out of the road. That was quite funny. We reminisced and we watched that the other day too. We actually often sit around the fire and we watch the bloopers. Well, they're not necessarily bloopers, just the awkward things that happen while we're live. And there seem to be a lot of them. We do it all the time. It's ridiculous, but I suppose that's the joy of life. Buffalo, and you guys are just having a fantastic time. A few of you grazing, some of you just standing still. They obviously haven't decided on where they're going to lay, which mud wallow they're going to occupy for the day, but there are plenty of them. This part that we're in is kind of close to where we had the cheetah last night, and you could sort of see all the rain and the lightning, and it's saturated the ground here. So not great for us driving around, but perfect, of course, for the buffalo to come about. And this is actually one of my favorite areas down here. There's some beautiful sort of natural depressions that fill up with water, and there's some sort of marshes around them, and there's just an abundance of animals. There's a few more actually coming out here. Now, Paula, you're wondering if the buffalo horn will stop growing at a certain age. Yes and no. I suppose it is keratin, so it will grow for most of their life, but the rate at which it grows will eventually slow down. So yes. I'm just trying to think. So a buffalo that's fully grown, that you know, its horns aren't going to get too much bigger. I would say when he's about 15 or 16 years old, he's pretty big, he's pretty old, he's experienced, he's filled out nicely as well. Even younger than that, up to about 10 years old, and where we find that they look big and strong. And then as they start to get older and older, their horns will start to get a little bit more blunt. So you can see his tips of his horns aren't as sharp as what they could have been. Again, with the oxpecker. That's classic buffalo. Isn't that the most iconic scene? Oxpeckers on the African buffalo, especially when they sit on their nose. These guys are very tolerant. Sometimes they're not so tolerant of the oxpeckers, especially when they dive down into the ears or try and dangle off their snout and dig in their nose for any parasites that may be around. I think everyone's still warming up though. There's not much movement going on between the birds and then of course the buffalo, except I can just hear some rowdy guinea fowl every now and then in this drainage line. So something has stirred them, and I don't know what has stirred them. Now, Mauricia, you're wondering if the yellow-billed oxpeckers are quite common to see out here in the Mara, because you said they're not too common in Djuma, in the Sabi Sand. Yeah, they're actually, I've seen more yellow-billed oxpeckers than I have seen red-billed oxpeckers, so they seem to be the dominant oxpecker species that fly around here, but you can also see the red-bills. And in Djuma, you know, you've just got to look really hard, and I think the reason why we don't see a lot of yellow-billed oxpeckers is because we don't have the big herds of buffalo passing through. When you go further south towards the Sabi and the Sand River, the vegetation really greens up quite a bit, and it's a lot more lush than what it is up in the northern Sabi sands. So those big herds are gathering around there, and then you see lots of yellow-billed oxpeckers. I used to see plenty when I was guiding at Sabi, always hanging towards the back of the buffalo herd. I'm not sure why that is, and you would just hear a different call every now and then in comparison to the red-billed oxpecker, and that's what would normally catch our attention. Then you'd start looking, you'd start spotting where those yellow-billed oxpeckers. But again, you're quite right in saying the numbers aren't as large as what they are up here, but they're definitely around. They're definitely there. But very nice to see both species out here. Right, let's carry on. Let's see. I want to continue checking this lugger. I wonder what's got those guinea fowl a bit excited. Well, not necessarily excited, but stirred them a little bit. Okay, I'm not driving along there because I know I'm going to slip inside. I think that was me earlier. Okay, so we're just going to keep bumbling along this lugger. We're going to keep our eyes open and hope to find another spotted cat of sorts. Noelle is, I think she's moved on from Tundi now, but what a great view of that little cub, and I hope she finds you many more leopards.
Thanks, Taylor. Sorry about the comms breakup a bit there. I hope that your alarm calls result in some sort of a cat for you. We've repositioned down and gotten sort of this beautiful little low angle shot of Tundi. The cub ended up not coming up to where Mum is, but has gone back inside of its little den. It is now very warm out. So I was really hoping that the cub would join Tundi up on top here and do a bit of nursing, but it looks as if nap time has really ensued now, and I believe that Tundi's probably going to be doing the same thing. She's found a nice little shady spot. Ferg and I were just chatting now. We were noticing how when the cub was playing with Tundi on top of the log there, how quiet the cub was. With lion cubs, I mean, a lion cub sees its mub and it's just wow, 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 wow. And they're very, very, yeah, sorry, Tundi. She's like, I know, it's a horrible impression. And that, to me, again, shows differences between these two big cats from a very early age. Lions being very vocal from an early age, and then throughout their lives, they are a larger cat than a leopard. And I mean, a leopard's whole demeanor is meant to hide and camouflage. So that cub is silent. It's still doing the same sort of movements that a lion cub would do, but this little leopard cub is doing it quietly. Regally. Let's go with regally. Leopards are very regal. That's a really great question, Bobby and Shamsun. You're asking, do cubs phlegm and grimace? I've seen older cubs phlegm and grimace. These little tiny ones, I was noticing when it was smelling, this leopard cub in particular was smelling around the log there. I didn't see a phlegm and grimace, but I think that with lion cubs, say, from an earlier age, because there's usually more of them, not always, but usually more of them, and then therefore there would be a lot of urine and things for them to start practicing that phlegm and grimace. That's one of the reasons why I've possibly seen it more. I've also personally spent more time with lion cubs than leopard cubs. Tristan would be an interesting one to ask about that, if he's ever seen them from a young age. The leopard cubs do it. Tristan spent more time with leopard cubs than I have. It's interesting how we carry on with throughout our careers, and as we get older as guides, what species we've spent more time with and know more about, depending on where we've worked. Gemma, you're curious to know, does a leopard pant with their mouth open, especially when they're very hot? Gemma, yes, they do. Because remember, they don't have sweat glands, so the only way that they can cool themselves down is by lying in the shade and with that panting. And sometimes it's a big open mouth, especially if they're very full, and sometimes it's just a little bit of a gap. So now she's grooming herself, and as we know, or maybe for some of our new viewers who are joining us, you may not know, when lions or leopards or cheetah are getting ready to start moving, they yawn, they stretch, they groom themselves, and sometimes that movement means they're actually going to get up and go, and sometimes the movement just means they're either going to reposition or just sort of flop down. So she's basically getting ready for her day of rest. That's a beautiful little shot there, keeping an eye on us. Linda, you'd like to know if leopards mate for life. So, Linda, leopards, both males and females, are very territorial, and those territories for a leopard, or territory for a lion, or territory for a cheetah, are territories are against other individuals of their same species. So what you'll notice with a leopard like Tundi, for instance, she has a territory that borders with Shadow's territory, that borders with Kachava's territory. There's a couple of females here, and then you'll have males like Tingana and Mvula who have territories. Now, sometimes you'll have a male where all three of those females are just within only his territory, or sometimes you'll have a scenario like we have now where those three females we chatted about have territories inside of two different males' territories, Tingana and Mvula's, and then their territories also have other females that we don't necessarily see where they overlap. And so there's a possibility when you have those two male territories where they have female territories that are half in one and half in the other, for lack of a better way to explain it just now, that they either might mate with Tingana or they might mate with Mvula. if there's just one, if their territory is just within one male's territory, they'll mate with that male until that male is pushed out, and then they'll start mating with another male. And every now and then you get a sneaky little nomadic male that will come through, and they might be around when, say, Tundi is in estrus, when she's ready to mate, and that might end up being the leopard. But when she's ready to mate, she'll call in the male. She'll start demarcating her territory and home range more hectically, for again lack of a better term, and calling him in, and then he'll find her and go. So no, it's not really mating for life, but there is a possibility that for her to have, if her lifespan and say Tingana's lifespan overlap enough where both of their territorial lives are coinciding to the point that you might have many litters from one male, but it's not always the case. Interesting question, Sky Doogie. You want to know if Tundi runs into Tumba, will she be aggressive towards him? I think it'll depend if she has her new cub with her or not. I think it'll depend if she has a kill with her or not. And I think it'll depend on whether or not she thinks he's trying to be too personal with her and she's not quite ready for that yet. She might still make kills and share them with him because our leopard populations we've got high densities here. She'll definitely not want him around the den site, and she's not going to mate with him. He's not old enough to mate with yet, but that's not to say in a few years that might not happen. So it would be very, very much dependent on scenario. Michelle, you're curious to know at what age will the cub spot pattern come in, and I believe you're asking about the spot pattern that occurs above the top whisker line. Michelle, it's already there. They're born with it. Those markings, like I have a mark on my leg that's a birthmark that's been there since I was born. It's the same thing. And also your fingerprints are there pretty much from when you're born. Obviously they can change a little bit if you burn off the skin on your finger, but yeah, those spot patterns are already there. They'll be easier to see and to identify the older it gets. As you've noticed now when we were looking at the cub, it's quite dark, but there's a few shots that I know that happened from this morning and a few shots from our magical little Christmas sighting as well, where you can start to pick up those spot patterns. I can have a look when I get home today on some of my images and see if I can identify it for you all and send it out for you. We have a lot of tawny-flanked Prinias that are flying around at the moment and are alarm calling quite hectically, and that has a lot to do with where Tundi is lying. So they're seeing her and going, there's a leopard here, there's a leopard. She seems not to care too much. Alright everybody, it looks as if this is going to be Tundi's resting place for the day. It also looks as if that cub is definitely in for a nap. She hasn't tried to call it out again. I think she has allowed us to have a really amazing sighting, and she also allowed us to come back with her again to carry on the sighting after she moved off a bit. So I think we've done well, and I think it's about time for us to move off and let her be. I hope you enjoyed. I definitely did. I know Ferg did as well. And I could tell that Nikki did from the little yays in my ear as we were getting the shots of that cub. And also she's chosen a position where we're basically staring at the back of her head. So thank you, Tundi. Thank you, Tundi's cub. This was amazing. And Ferg and I will leave you in peace now and meander off and see just what might pop up as we carry on out of the drainage line here. Okay. I'm just going to start reversing out a little bit. We might, well, we'll still have a bit of view with her as I reverse the car out. Oh, sorry for the shake, everybody. That was my fault. Sorry, Ferg. All right. It seems as if Ralph has a cat species for you. It's not the lion, it's not a leopard, it is our other magical cat species, the cheetah. How exciting. I'm excited for you, Ralph. Happy New Year's, and I hope you guys enjoy that very, very much.
Thanks, Noel, and it seems that you folks have been having a wonderful time with Thandi and her cub. Well, eventually we've been able to find the musketeers. Now, I know that Taylor found them this morning, but they had given everybody the slip, like the male lion did this morning. I don't know where he disappeared off to. We couldn't find him, and then after that I got stuck, and now we've been able to get unstuck and find the musketeers. See this one collared here. I still need to get up to speed with the individuals in this group of cheetah, but for now I'm just going to be watching and trying to look at all their little traits. There's obviously quite a nice couple of scratches on that one's nose, and also the radio collar that's on it. And you see there they are in a thicket near to some game. Now, Scott, you're commenting that looks like a new scar on his nose. It doesn't look too old, and what's easy now is we've got, for me, that's a nice identifying feature. Obviously with the radio collar, I don't think all of them have got one, but there's a nice scratch on his nose for us to be able to identify him with. I'm sure the viewers, the ones that know these cats, will be sending in and letting us know which one it is. But I also like to just have a look for myself, just initially, just to try and see some individual characteristics, and then it makes it easier for me to remember. That's all. I'm not going to be telling anybody that they're wrong, because you probably know these cheetah better than I do. But I do know cheetah in general, so it's not too much of a problem. I just want to try and use the characteristics as we see them. Now, that one doesn't have a collar, neither does the other one, so this one in particular having that collar, I'm sure we'll find out who that is very quickly. And they do have rather large or fat bellies, so I wonder if they've fed this morning. They are panting a little bit as well, and this one being very roly-poly. Look at that fat belly. I'm pretty sure they've fed. Oh yes, yeah, that's a fed looking belly to me. And it's that time then to lie up and catch a snooze. Look at that, you can see how it's protruding. You're going to have to spend lots of energy now trying to digest all of that meat. I wonder who was the unlucky customer that got caught and fed on. But lovely to see the cheetah. I haven't seen a cheetah in the wild for a little while. I've been in Djuma and in areas of Namibia where there are lovely populations of free-roaming cheetah. I think it's the largest population of free-roaming cheetah in the world in parts of Namibia. So that was the last I've seen many cheetah, but it's not that usual to have such a big coalition of males. The biggest I've seen before this was 3. So very exciting for me to see a large coalition of male cheetah. Now, please don't forget to send through your questions and your comments. We'd love for you to be involved in our lovely little sighting here with the cheetah. Send us your questions. You see there, you can also see the difference between the spots and the rosettes, with the spots being that on cheetah and the rosettes being that on leopard. And also, it's nice to distinguish between them, because you've just been watching leopard, and now with us watching cheetah. The build of these animals very different to that of your leopard. A lot more built for speed, a lot longer legs, longer body, longer tail, more fine, if I can say, or very dainty, almost like the whippet of the cats, whereas the leopard being a lot more stocky and a shorter tail, a bigger head, heavier set front and hind quarters. Obviously, remember how they drag animals up trees and so on. Now, Gillian, you're making the comment you hope that collar isn't too heavy for him. It isn't heavy for them at all. Obviously, initially, it's almost like wearing a little bit of a necklace. So, initially, it can be a bit irritating, but the longer you wear it, the more you get used to it. And the researchers that put these collars on, they do keep tabs on it just to make sure that it's not too tight or too loose, because it can also be too loose. So, folks, we're not going to go anywhere. We're going to sit right here and stay with this coalition. And while we're doing that, and hopefully we see them get up maybe in a little while, but I don't think so with those fat bellies. I think let's send you on over to Taylor, who's got one of those little animals that these cheetah could have actually eaten.
They could eat them, although I don't know if there's room, or maybe room for a warthog. Like I said, I didn't think the cheetah looked overly full. I've definitely seen cheetah with bellies much larger than that. But we have a beautiful sow and her 3 little piglets who have made it into the new year. Congratulations, well done. Very good. Unfortunately, we're seeing fewer and fewer piglets as we go along, which is quite sad, but that's normal. You might find that only one of these will survive, which is kind of sad to think about, but one must understand how cruel nature really is. There are no rules. Everybody does what they need to do to survive, and that's the most important thing, is being able to survive. Now, these little ones are getting too big now to stand underneath mum and suckle, that it actually seems as though laying down, or at least bending down onto your knees, is the easier way to get milk. And they don't suckle for very long. It's just a couple of months, and from about 2 months old, they're already grazing. I'm not sure. Stage, a large part of their diet would actually be grass, and then of course just supplementing their diet with milk. But mom will eventually stop producing milk, and then they're just going to have to keep grazing all on their own. Now, they grow up so quickly. For me, warthogs and impala are incredible at how they transform from little ones to big ones in just a matter of months. I mean, by 6 months old, these warthogs will be half the size of their mother, just about. And at 6 months old, with an impala lamb, again, you start struggling to tell which one was an adult and which was a youngster. And it is important that they develop very quickly, because if you stay small for too long, well, then you're a target, aren't you? Careful, don't get too far ahead of mum. And she's just using the luxury facilities now, in case she needs to dash off somewhere, lighten the load. So our animals pick up on one another's body language. And I don't think we realize how important body language is. I wonder if they were getting a fright from those crowned lapwings that were making a noise. I just heard them start shouting, and those piglets did run in their direction, and that maybe startled them slightly. Now, you've got to be careful of those birds. They're nasty. I don't know if you'll be able to hear them. It's quite far away that we're watching pigs. But Mom's walking the youngsters straight in their direction. They might have a nest somewhere. Now, Gillian, you've said it is so sad that so few piglets survive. It is, but it's one of those things. The snakes have to eat. Young lions who've just been kicked out of prides, it makes for a very easy target. The same thing for leopards, for young cheetah. So, even though, yes, the way this morning, it could mean life and death between a warthog and a predator. There's the crowned lapwings I was telling you about. So, it's nature balances itself out. Oh, sorry about that. I believe the gremlins were attacking me for a moment. See how nervous she is, Azul. She runs, she stops, she looks around. She runs, she stops, she looks around. And it's important that animals do that. They don't just go charging off in one direction. They have to use all their senses of smell, eyesight, and hearing. And without that stopping, because as she's running, she's making quite a bit of noise. It'll be thump, 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 thump. She won't be able to hear over that. And like we've just been saying, there could be any number of animals that could charge out and grab those little ones. Now, Nikki, you've just pointed out about her tail. She does. She's got quite a big kink in it, doesn't seem like she can hold it up for very long. Must have broken it or something at some point, maybe when she was younger. Off she goes. All three little pigs trotting on behind. Oh, very nice, though. I think I'd be like her, though. I would tend to stick out in the open areas where it would be very difficult for something to sneak up to me. Although cheetah are just incredible the way that they blend into the vegetation, and most of the time cheetah aren't even using any cover. From what we've seen here, they just walk, slouch their shoulders and creep and hope that the animals haven't spotted them. Right, maybe another storm is going to brew this afternoon, which would be
Thanks, folks. Well, I'm not quite sure what happened there with Taylor, but as we've been having a little bit of gremlins over the last little while with a lot of the stormy weather we've been having, it's obviously why she's had a little bit of problems there. But we're still sitting here with the cheetah, and I've been chatting with Manu, and he's informed me that this is indeed D'Artagnan of the Musketeers. D'Artagnan, if you want to say it like that, but the French word, I'm not saying it perfectly, I'm sure, but D'Artagnan. And he's got this collar, and now I can also see from that little scar on his nose. So it seems that everybody's been chiming in and trying to help me and telling me which cheetah this is. So Jared's brother, thanks for your comment and confirming my suspicion, and also that of Manu's, that this is indeed D'Artagnan with the radio collar. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult for us to identify the other individuals because they don't have as easy characteristics as this first one. They are still on the side of the termite mound, and in a minute I'm going to reposition and get a better view of them. I thought we'd start with this one that is nice and open, and now we've identified him as D'Artagnan. So shortly we'll be going and having a look at these ones. But lovely to see them from behind. It was actually Manu who spotted them, but it was from D'Artagnan's very white stomach. Now, Dina K, you're wondering what I think about this coalition now that I've got to see them. Well, Dina K, thanks very much for your question, and I'm just waiting to have been able to spend more time with them before I'm able to comment. But it seems a lovely proposition having 5 males together in a coalition, it makes for absolutely mouth-watering and enticing scenes, especially once they get hunting. So I can't wait. But unfortunately for me, I'm going to have to wait a little bit because of these fat bellies. It looks like they've just had their Christmas lunch. And we're going to have to wait a little while to see them hunt. Online dispatcher, you're wondering how long cheetah live. And just off the top of my head, I think it's about 12 years, but I'm just confirming it. In fact, the general lifespan of a cheetah is 16 years. So I wasn't far off, but a little bit more than I thought. It's around 15, 16 years. So there's your answer to that. So these males, I'm not quite sure. I haven't heard how old they are, but they look in magnificent condition, and I would say they're in their prime. So you could guess anything between like 6 and 12 years, I would say, somewhere in there. And they've got a decent amount of battle scars as well. It could also be between each other when they're feeding on whatever prey they've killed, and then those claws go into each other's faces as they try to dominate the food. Remember, with cheetah, we say that their claws are actually protractable. They're not retractable because they're always out, and then they can pull them back. So we say that they're protractable. And they're always out, which means that they've got permanent running spikes, and it helps for grip when they're running at top speed. So very nice and interesting to note that. And so if you look at a cheetah track, you can often think that it's a dog-like animal, because you've got those claws very often showing in the track, but you've got the 3 lobes at the back and slightly elongated or more dainty than a lion or leopard track. And that's all down to their physique and their build, everything built around being foster, and that does give them a few negatives, that they are so well built for speed that once they make a kill, they're very easily pushed off that kill by hyena, wild dogs, lions, and even jackals. I've seen 3 jackals chase a female hyena off a kill, so it's even down to the little guys that can chase them off. But I wouldn't say that jackals would be able to push these 5 males off a kill. I think they would defend it quite well. Now, Anna Marie, you're saying that you feel so bad that they were, or they did not accept Mugi. I'm assuming that is the other cheetah that, I think it was with Brent, that I saw that it seemed like they were thinking about letting him join the coalition, or he was attempting to force his way in, or just being in the area and trying not to get killed. So it seems that he might have survived that encounter, but it seems that this bond is a little bit too strong, and they weren't ready for an extra participant within the group. Maybe they didn't agree on things and on terms and conditions for the relationship, and so Mugi, it seems, has moved on. He's moved on, unfortunately. Well, you never know. It might have been fortunate, because maybe the dynamics would have changed within the group, and so you never know why they didn't accept him, or he didn't accept them. Can also be the case. But with 5 of them, it's obviously everybody's got to agree that Mugi would be allowed into the group, and obviously it wasn't agreed. So Mugi moves on and goes and seeks alternative coalitions or continues on his own. You know, sometimes maybe that was the problem. Maybe he was too much of a loner and not quite ready to be part of a group. It's always interesting, the dynamics. Now, Gillian, you're wondering if these hyenas would be as aggressive to humans or as they would be towards lions and leopards. Well, with cheetah, I have found that as soon as you're out on foot with them, they are quite scared of humans and they will run off very quickly. It's only the ones that have been habituated and around lodges. Sometimes they rehabilitate them, and then they can be one of the cats that can be potentially one of the better ones to be able to touch, and the kids can get close to and maybe just see. But you always need to be very careful because they still have their natural instincts, and they can still be quite aggressive. Alright, so now that we've had a lovely view of D'Artagnan, I think I'm going to reposition in a little minute, and we're going to go around and see if we can spot these other ones nicely and get a good view on them. But while we're doing that, let's send you on over to Taylor with one of our banded antelope. Not an antelope, a zebra.
There we go, we've got the zebra, we've got a whole family of them, and look at them, they're crossing the road. Ah, here we go, first zebra crossing for us, it's 2018, da-dum. Got to get one of those dad jokes in while you can, you never know. There they all are quite happily. They've got to be careful though, this is one of the main roads, and there can be some vehicles that move fairly quickly along here, but luckily for them, the path is clear. I think I can hear some rumbling, so there might be some vehicles on their way. Quickly go, be free. But it is always nice to see the zebra, although I don't know where the wildebeest are. It seems as though those big herds of wildebeest that were hanging around have moved off. I've only seen one or two in the far distance, and lots of zebra, lots of topi, lots of Thompson's gazelle. Well, not too many Thompson's gazelle, but they're around. But the zebra seem to me be the most prominent mammal species around at the moment, which is quite nice to see. They are beautiful, striking creatures, of course, and I'm enjoying looking at the little foals and spending time with them, but they're just moving too quickly for us now. You might see some people gathering on the top. That's just a balloon breakfast, because they also do the balloon safaris this side. Look how short the grass is. It is only a couple of centimeters long. It has been grazed flat. Grass recovers so quickly though, it's actually amazing, and I don't think this is a very good example of how quickly grass can grow, because in South Africa it's more dramatic when we have no grass, when the grass disappears completely. Bernice, you're wondering if there's a full moon tonight. I think there might be. I haven't seen the moon for a few nights in a row now because we've had heavy clouds, but I remember Alice saying something to me about the second being full moon, so maybe not tonight, maybe tomorrow night. I think I'll have to have a look for you, but like I said, I have not seen the moon in a few days, so it's a bit difficult for me to tell. Maybe we'll get lucky and the moon will pop through. However, I'm not so sure. I will never forget that when I first arrived in the Mara, it took me 2 weeks before I first saw a star. It was crazy. Every single night was just cloudy and raining. It was miserable. But you have such great weather, and then you have such terrible weather too, so it's much of a muchness. Now I'm gonna just find some more zebra. There's plenty of them here. Just get a nice little spot. We can look at whichever zebra you want to look at. Archie, you can choose. Now, Handsome Hunky, you're wondering what is the function of a zebra's stripes? Well, there are a number of different theories that the scientists have come up with. So one of them is the fact that it helps basically break up the solid shape of an animal. So we call it disruptive markings. And the theory behind that, and it works quite well with their collective name, which is a dazzle of zebra, we call it a group of zebra, is that when they're standing in a herd, and you can kind of see it there, it starts to become difficult to make out one animal from the other, or front end from the back. And with young zebra, when they're standing in the middle of the herd, the predators find it particularly difficult to pick them out. So you can see, so it helps hide an individual, and then also it also helps with deterring flies and keeping flies away, which is pretty spectacular. Although when they've got those tails as well, zebra tails get so long, they can whip them around quite far around their body to get rid of them. But there will be plenty of midges and things out now, so I feel a bit sorry for all the animals. And then you also have to feel sorry for us, because that means mosquitoes for us, and they do like to bite us, and they're so tough out here, the mozzies. They bite straight through your clothes, which is insane. But I don't know how much the zebra are affected by mosquitoes. Also, I was wondering how prevalent African horse sickness is up here in Kenya. I know zebras are a carrier for it, but they don't get it. Paula, you're wondering if zebras can sleep standing up. Not necessarily that they'll lay down like some of them were doing, or some of them are doing. They're just sitting down and resting at the moment. That's typically how they're asleep. But you'll often see them standing around one another, and you see this when you have horses in a paddock too, and they'll rest their heads on one another, still standing up. So they'll have like a siesta, I suppose, where they're not really using any energy, they're just catching up on some rest, having a nap. And then when they do need to have anything more than that, I mean, zebra and horses only sleep a couple of hours, between 4 and maybe 6 hours in a day, so they don't need a lot of rest. I mean, one of my horses, he used to love to sleep. It was his favorite thing. Every night before the sun had even gone down, he was already fast asleep, but he was always the first horse to awake, neighing, wanting breakfast. He liked his food. Anyways, right, we're going to move on from the zebra and see what other creatures we can find in the distance. Rolf is still with the cheetah. Let's go and take a look. Maybe they've woken up.
Thanks, Taylor. But unfortunately, folks, I believe these bellies on these cats are way too big for them to be getting up anytime soon. And as a result, you can see their eyes dipping, taking on a little bit of a snooze, as you do when you've got a full stomach. Like we say in Afrikaans, maag is vol, oog is toe, which means stomach full, eyes closed, which is exactly what's happening here. So I'm pretty sure this has been a happy hunting morning for this group of cheetah. They've all filled their bellies up, and that's wonderful to see. Now, Muldoon, you're asking a question, what is the cheetah's, and I just missed the last end of that question. Top speed. Thanks, Manu. He was just... Okay, so top speed, Muldoon. Well, in a lot of literature, it's written that it's about 120 kilometers per hour, which would equate to, I think it's about 80 miles an hour. But in fact, it's not quite that fast. The research now has indicated that it's a lot closer to 100 kilometers per hour, which would be closer, I think, to about 75 miles an hour. A little bit slower than first accepted, but it is still extremely fast, Muldoon. If you think about how fast a cheetah is, and when I do that, I like to put it into perspective. In 100 meters, so Usain Bolt runs the 100 meters in a little over 9 seconds, and a lion at top speed will run it probably at about 6 seconds, but a cheetah at top speed will run the 100 meters in about 4 seconds. So it is lightning quick, and it's 3 times faster than Usain Bolt, which is absolutely incredible. When you think how fast he is as a human, he is almost supernatural, but a cheetah will leave him in his dust. So he doesn't stand a chance. And there was one little interesting race that they put one of our very fast rugby players, Bryan Habana. He was the fastest rugby player in South Africa, well, the sort of top professional, and they pitted a cheetah against Bryan Habana a few years ago. But they gave Bryan Habana like a 50-meter start, and so the cheetah was running 100 meters, Bryan Habana was running 50 meters, and they let them both go, and the cheetah still won. Looking very regal in that pose like that. Beautiful. And I do know that now, Raya, you're wondering, and a very good question that, how long can a cheetah maintain its top speed for? Raya, it can probably only do this for up to about 2 minutes maximum. I've heard even less than that, but at top speed it can be between 30 seconds and 2 minutes, but pushing towards 2 minutes, and you know, it's like on a vehicle's dashboard when the rev counter is hitting red and it's overheating. That's heading towards that 2 minute mark where the cheetah will be, the revs will be in the red and it will be overheating, and at that stage he needs to either stop and very quickly cool down, or he really easily stands the chance of overheating and exhausting itself and imminent death, really, because once you get into those extreme exhaustion points, it can be a very quick downhill to death. So cheetah need to be really careful, and that's why they do need to try and stalk as close as possible before they do start the chase, because it just then limits the amount of exhaustion that the potential holds. So, folks, it's been a very interesting morning. It's been full of fun with us getting stuck in the mud and having to get pulled out, starting with seeing the lions and eventually ending with this lovely encounter with these cheetah. Now, I don't think these cheetah are going to be going anywhere anytime soon, but hopefully we can catch up again with them this afternoon, and maybe they'll be then willing to get a little bit more activity going. But I think at least until tomorrow they are going to be quite content with those full bellies. But nonetheless, we'll be driving around this afternoon looking for anything and everything. So folks, from my side and from Manu, we're going to say goodbye now, and we're going to send you on over to Taylor, who I think has got something else interesting for you. But cheerio for now.
Well, you just missed them, unfortunately. There were lots of marabou storks and vultures and all sorts of things circling in the air, catching thermals, taking off for the first time. That was really nice, but unfortunately the roofs have ruined it for us. Absolutely typical. Right, we are making our way home to go and have some breakfast, but we'll be out a little bit later. I hope that you've enjoyed it, and I hope that you all have a fantastic start to 2018. Make it a good one. Be positive. Don't take life so seriously. Laugh a lot more. Be a bit like me. Just take everything not seriously. Right, we'll see you same time, same place this afternoon for the Sunset Safari. We'll see you later.